If you were a Tudor waking up on September the 29th, you would know immediately what day it was. This wasn't just any old feast. This was Michaelmas, the day of St. Michael the Archangel, defender against evil and patron of soldiers. For the Tudors, it was one of the great quarter days of the year, and it touched nearly every part of their lives: religion, farming, feasting, and even paying the rent. Michaelmas falls at the perfect turning point in the year. The harvest is pretty much done with being gathered, the days are getting shorter, people are nervously eyeing the long winter ahead. The Tudors turned to Michael, sword in hand and wings unfurled, to protect them as the darkness grew. Churches across England held services in his honor, and prayers were offered to ward off sickness, misfortune, and anything else the devil might throw at you once the nights grew long. But while it held a deep religious meaning, Michaelmas was also immensely practical. In Tudor England, the calendar was divided into 4 quarter days: Lady Day in March, Midsummer in June, Michaelmas in September, and Christmas in December. These were the days when all the things happened. Rents came due, debts were settled, servants were hired, contracts were signed. Michaelmas wasn't just about the angels, it was also about the accounting. If you were a farmer, you knew your landlord expected his money today. If you were a student heading to Oxford or Cambridge, this was the start of your academic year, still called Michaelmas term to this day. Of course, no Tudor feast was complete without food, and Michaelmas had its own traditions. Chief among them was the Michaelmas goose. The saying went that if you ate goose on Michaelmas, you would enjoy prosperity throughout the year. Even Henry VIII ate goose for this day, and when the king set the example, everyone else followed. Goose fairs sprang up in towns like Nottingham and Cambridge, where hundreds of birds were sold in the days leading up to the feast. The goose was fattened on the stubble left after the harvest, making it perfectly timed for the September table. Alongside, you'd likely find apples, nuts, and the first pressings of cider or ale, food that celebrated the season's abundance while acknowledging that leaner times were just around the corner. The feast wasn't the only custom. Folklore wrapped itself tightly around Michaelmas. One of the most famous sayings was that blackberries should never be eaten after September 29th, because on that day the devil was said to have fallen from heaven and landed in a blackberry bush. Angry, he supposedly spat on them, or worse, and that made them unlucky, if not downright poisonous. Tudors took this seriously. Michaelmas marked the last day for blackberry picking. It was also a day of fairs and social gatherings. In many towns, hiring fairs were held where servants and laborers arranged their employment for the coming year. A farm boy might find a new master, or a maid might be hired into service, all at the Michaelmas fair. The day blended business with festivity, with music and games, and plenty of ale flowing after the serious work was done. After the Reformation, when many saints' days were stripped from the calendar, Michaelmas stubbornly remained. Its religious meaning was harder to erase, and its practical role in contracts and rent made it too useful to ignore. Even today, the echoes of it survive. British universities still call their autumn term the Michaelmas term, and in some places you will find goose dinner served in late September. For the Tudors, Michaelmas was more than a feast day. It was a moment that the year pivoted, a day of holy prayers, legal obligations, and rich food. One day could bring both the anxiety of paying your landlord and the comfort of goose and ale shared with your neighbors. So if you lived in Tudor England, which would you focus on first? Leave a comment and let me know. Would it be the rent or the goose? I'm going to focus on the goose, I think. Leave me a comment and let me know what you think. All right, friend, thanks for watching. I'll be back soon, and happy Michaelmas.